You're listening to Crud Talk, a ministry of 50 Shades of Grace. Everybody's got a story. I'm guessing like me, you've been hurt before. But what if I told you there was more to this life than being stuck in the hurt and sin of your past? Hey, we all have crud, but it's how we deal with it that makes all the difference.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crud Talk. I'm Sonia Bruner. My ministry is 50 Shades of Grace. So glad to have you here today. Praying that you're having a great week. I'm so glad you're here. Excited to be here. And actually, I have my special friend, Dee Harrison. This girl and I, man, we have done life together for years. Dee, say hello.
Hello.
We get into some fun. I'll tell you, we laugh a lot. We like to talk about God. We could talk about God all day long, girl. I mean,
so
oh my
much
goodness.
to say.
Yeah, there's so much. And what I really appreciate about my friend is that she's real. She tells the truth, brutally honest, and she is not better than anybody, but she's not worse either. And that's something that I think we really have a lot in common. Anyway, Dee, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have two boys. They're 25 and 23. I've been married for 28 years. I get to work in a hospital doing occupational therapy assistant, and I get to serve people, and I pray that my hands are what Jesus would do and the way they're treated.
I love that. So, Dee, we talk about a lot of different things, and I just wanted to kind of touch a little bit about, you've had kind of an interesting last couple of years for sure, and especially in the last year, you've been dealing with a lot of loss. I really feel like a lot of people are where you are, and I'm interested to see kind of what the Lord has been teaching you. What tell us a little bit about what happened, and then just kind of what you've been learning.
Well, sure. So we all dealt with COVID and how weird of a time that was, with not having good information of knowing exactly what to do, how to do, and when to do it. And then so being separated from family to keep them safe for about a year. And then in December, my sister passed away suddenly in her sleep from a cardiac arrest, stuff with her heart. And then 6 weeks later, my dad passed away. So Daddy was not such a surprise, because he'd been on borrowed time for quite a while and would tell us that quite often.
He's such a character. He's awesome.
Hot mess. And then Dina, hot mess too, but we never even thought about that one. So that hit hard, and right before Christmas, and it was just a mess. So I was 51 and always had my daddy and my big sister. So it's just weird to have a life that they're not where you can talk to them anymore or see them or talk back. So that was just weird. But I'm totally a Jesus girl. I believe what the word says, and I believe he can get us through anything with him. And I know heaven's real. I know what the Bible says. When we have a relationship with him, we are his. He does not let go of us. He knows us inside and out and loves us anyway.
Amen.
I know all that. And I was very surprised. Oh, also, I know how his plan is better than mine. Even if I don't like it, I don't have to. But I do have to know it is his plan, and he knows what he's doing, and respect that. I still don't have to like it, and I don't. But saying that, I didn't think it would be that hard to lose them, because I know what heaven is. I know where they are. I know they had a relationship with Jesus. I know all that, and still it was hard for me. Still is hard for them to be gone. And I didn't expect that. So that's what I'm learning through what mourning is and loss, of how you can know all the right answers, but your brain and spirit still does not take it well.
Yeah, or grieving it, or do you find yourself in those thoughts of the woulda, shoulda, couldas? Do you find yourself saying, I wish I, or you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to ask? Like, what do you find yourself doing that at all?
No, not as much, because through that, of all that, before any of that happened, I realized that what I needed to do for me to be okay with. So like if I didn't go see them, not to put myself on a guilt trip. And I'm good at not doing that, because there's no use in it, and that's just one way for the devil to get in, is to put yourself on a guilt trip.
Oh, I love that.
So be comfortable with your decisions when you make them, to when you look back on them and say that they're okay. So like making the choice of not going by to see Daddy, or not calling Dina ever at that late through those years, was like, be okay with your choice. Do it more for you and be okay with it. So that part, not so much. What did get me was the loss of the hope I had for each one of them to get better, or for Daddy to have a relationship with my boys. The hope that he could come live in Oklahoma and be around them and teach them a few things. The hope and expectations of Dina, and the excitement of her having grandbabies and getting to be a part of their lives. That part is more the loss than what I should have done. If you can do anything, it's to be comfortable in your own skin and be okay with your choices, and to do that before you regret them.
Yeah, that's a great word right there.
I've learned that from my mom. She's taught us that, to know who we are and why we do stuff, and you can't go back. So do it right then, and if you don't like what you're doing, change it to what you can be okay with.
Yeah,
so you can't
powerful.
change stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And so, and part of that too is, that really does go along with dealing with your crud, because if you have crud and you have something going on, what is crud? Crud is the leftover emotional stuff from when we've been hurt by other human beings. So if was any of that, let's say between you and your dad or your sister or anybody, any of us, our relationships with our kids, our husbands, or whatever, it's up to you to make that choice. And that's kind of what your mom was saying. I love that.
Yeah.
Is if you don't like how it is, change it. It's up to you. It's you can't control what anyone else does.
Yeah.
You can only control how you respond.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And to learn the difference with like not choosing to, what you think is their behavior is not appropriate. Like both of them like to drink, and that's okay. But I made the choice to not have my boys around that a lot when they were little, because I didn't want to see them that way. I didn't like seeing them that way. So I made the choice to not let them spend the night. Because they were little. They didn't know enough to know. So I made that choice, and that was part of me not regretting them being there all the time, and knowing that I was doing the right thing for them when they were little, to where they could be aware. Now when they got older, I just educated them and let them know, and to be aware, and then they were okay. And I convinced myself they were okay. But in the back part of that is being okay with your decisions of what you make, and reminding yourself of why you made them.
Yeah. And I think boundaries, we can talk a little bit about that.
And that's what that is.
Right. Boundaries, because we love our families, right? We love our families, and that's who God has given us, right? But there are times when our actions or our lifestyle or even just belief system is not in line. They're not on the same page. And so what does God say in that? We're to love people, right? Love people, but we don't go along with the sin. And that's true for all of us too. And so setting those boundaries with any of those relationships, work, church, families, that can be really tricky. What do you find? You're laughing.
Yeah.
What do you find is give us information about what you think is how you do that, setting those boundaries. I don't know. I'm trying to say.
So you got to know enough, and just because I've been through it for a while, is to know enough about yourself to know what your boundaries are. So
how do you do that? Because there's a lot of people that have no clue what they're about.
One person's boundary is totally different than my boundary.
Right.
And so that's the different part too. Some people refuse to listen to country music because they talk about all the sins that they don't want to deal with. And me, no, I rock out. I don't mind. And so, but they're like, oh, we get rid of all secular music. And I'm like, good for you. You just got to know that different people have different boundaries. And some people have boundaries on their friendships. I talked before how people can't handle me telling the truth all the time, whether they want to hear it or not. But that's where that could be their boundary. They don't want to deal with that right now, and that's okay. To be okay with other people's boundaries and then in that you can find your own boundary too. And your boundaries change. And as you change, God helps you through stuff, and your boundaries might change.
Right.
Like any people on drugs or alcohol, they choose not to go to the bar. If I'm trying to eat better, I choose not to go to
Dairy Queen.
Yes. It's like, don't drive through, don't do it.
Yep.
So
That's
there's
right.
different boundaries. Just figure out what your boundaries are and even write them down of the choices of the boundaries you want to make today.
Yeah, that's a great word too. And also too, we used to do a couple of things. We used to, and this really has worked for us. We have a kind of a 2.5 day vacation limit with any family member, and they're probably listening. They're going to be like, "Oh, we're toast." Well, but what happens is you get around each other, and you're not used to being around each other that much to begin with. Then by that second day, you're still in the honeymoon phase. And by that third day, which is the half, you're almost like starting to get kind of nitpicky and get on each other's nerves. And when I share this with people, they die laughing because they're like, I never thought of it before, but that's totally true. 2.5 days.
So Doug's Aunt Nola has always said that fish and relatives have a 3-day limit.
I love that. That's good.
And she has always said that. And like on the third day, we're like, oh, fish. Yeah.
So good. I love that. And another thing too about setting those boundaries and not jumping on people. It's really hard, like when the Harry Potter series came out, a lot of Christian people were like, we're not going to do that. But I always loved The Wizard of Oz. I never looked at it as magic. I looked at it as costumery and the characters and good versus bad. I didn't look at that. So I wasn't really hyper strung out on that. My kids kind of never did watch that, but it wasn't because I said you can't watch it. It was just because I don't think they got into it. But the other side of that too was we have, several people that we know, family members and friends that will say, literally, if you dance to secular music, you're going to go to hell. And yet they would watch rated R movies. And we'd be like, what's the difference? I mean, what do you say? But again, it's what you're saying. Our boundaries should be, number one, Holy Spirit driven. Amen?
Yeah.
Because we can get some wackadoo thoughts that have nothing to do with the Lord.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit driven. Jesus is okay with that, right? And then grace for the people that don't share your opinion or your boundary, which is exactly what you're saying. And so that's just such a great reminder for all of us, because how many times do I get mad at you or someone else because, why do they not totally think I'm brilliant on my boundary? Because it doesn't matter to them. They're not, And so that's just a great reminder, but that's all good. So tell us a little bit about, we talked about this recently, about what you're seeing health-wise in people. You see a lot of different types of patients, obviously different ages, but what are some things you deal with? A lot of edema, right? Is that what it's called? Swelling and lymphedema? Okay.
Lymphedema.
I'm learning from Dee.
Yeah.
Dee, my coda.
Yeah.
She's my
I
coda.
used to. That's what we did in the clinic. We did the lymphedema massage and was able to get that fluid moving.
Okay. Why does why does the fluid get there? And this is for people like, is that the same thing as when your ankles swell? Why does the fluid go there?
Well, and you can have swelling anywhere, like some folks that have had lymph nodes removed for whatever reason, then they could have swelling in their arms or their face or anywhere. Anywhere.
Why does that happen?
Well, sometimes they don't know.
Okay.
Period. Other times it can be your kidneys aren't working good, so that's not able to get the fluid out. Other times it can be congestive heart failure, to where your heart's not pumping good enough to be able to return that fluid back up. The lymphatic system works with the veins. So arteries run the blood down, veins return the blood back.
Okay.
So whenever, and all through our body, there's where the veins and the arteries meet. I don't know how far you want me to go in. There's capillaries, and the capillaries get the junk out of the blood.
Okay.
And that's the lymphatic fluid that's in your body. Then there's the lymphatic system that goes in and sucks that blood up, and it runs along the veins. As the veins pumping the blood back up, that stimulates the lymphatic system to bring the fluid up. Okay. So if your veins are not working well, that's another reason that fluid can't get back up.
Okay, so what helps our veins to work well then? Because that seems to be the issue, right?
Yeah. So that's part of your heart, taking care of your heart, and that's movement. You got to move. You got to move, and for your blood, you got to drink your water and make sure you're getting your electrolytes, which you should be, unless you got some other stuff going on that's making you like diarrhea or anything like that can make you water pills. Then you got to get the fluid back in, that kind of thing. So also you can, like people that are on their feet or sitting all the time, you need to be wearing compression garments or just socks. So I wear compression socks, and the therapeutic grade's the 20-30. That's how hard the compression is to wear those. What that does is makes your veins, when they pump, it helps those lymphatic system run alongside those veins and actually feel that vein moving up, and it helps get that fluid up and out. So all that goes along with moving your body. So whenever you move your joints, your skin's moving, all those muscles are moving, the veins are moving. So all that helps all that lymphatic system come up and out.
So water every day,
Absolutely.
movement of some kind every day, walking probably, or whatever your movement is, and then compression socks if you're going to be sitting a lot.
And up on your feet a lot.
Okay. Oh, and stand on your feet. Okay.
Any of it. You got to have that movement in that. Our bodies are made to move. Whenever we get to where we're not moving, that's whenever problems start happening.
Okay.
And you got to keep moving. We're not made to not move.
Okay. Ooh, that's a sermon.
Yeah, it's true.
When your bodies are staying still, we're not made to stay where we are. Ooh, girl, that just took a turn right there. Yeah. Ooh,
so you got to keep moving, and that's what I see a lot in the hospital, even, and it's not just lymphedema. So now I'm working in acute care in the hospital, and basically we go in and get people up and moving, because the doctors and everyone else has figured out the more people move, the quicker they get better. So it's not about laying in the hospital anymore. Back in the day after they had a kid, I don't think they moved for a week. They had people lay in bed. Well, they figured out now that the quicker you get moving after a surgery, if able, then the better off you're going to be. So that's why when you have a knee or hip replacement or any surgery, you're up and moving the same day, if the drugs are out of your system enough. So they've clued into that. So that's why I have a job, is to go get them moving.
Yeah.
And you can tell the people that don't want to move and they don't move, they're not going to get better. You have to keep moving.
There's such a sermon in that. So tell me what your favorite part about your job is. What's your favorite part?
Getting people to get better. And so first off, I pray over my patients on the way to work, because I know I'm not educated enough not to kill them. And there's plenty of people around me that keep them safe, and that's what I want to do too, is keep them safe. And I want them to feel the Holy Spirit in my hands whenever I touch them, because it's really not about me, and I never know what I'm going to walk into. You don't know. You just don't know. And there's no way. So I'll have 8 to 12 patients a day, and there's no way I can read everything in their chart to know everything about them when I walk in. So I found out just enough to not kill them. So I go in and, I don't know that they are diagnosed with cancer, but I know they need to move. So, and I know their limitations. So that's what I go on. So to be able to come and be that light that they need, and talk about Jesus whenever I can get that in there. And that's the fun part of being able, and I do, and I've pray with them and give them that hope and make sure that they feel like they're important when they're there. A lot of times when folks are in the hospital, the doctor's got a million other things on their mind. They may talk to you for 5 minutes and they're out. And the nurses are hurrying up and doing their job, they're out. The techs are coming in to do their job, they're out. So we get to be the ones that do more of the hands-on and make sure you remember they're human.
Yeah, I love that too.
That's fun. But I especially like the old grouchy people that don't want to move, and I get to make friends and make them want to.
Yeah.
Some of them you can't, but a lot of them you're just like, so do you want to get better? So this is what you got to do, and be the blunt encourager at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. So the other thing I was thinking about too is you and I are both been married a long time, and we have adult kids. So I feel like that could be an entire episode just on that topic alone. But both of us have walked through some really interesting days with our kids. Mm-hmm. And what encouragement can you give moms that have teenagers now? They're not there yet. They're not where we are with adult kids, who are adult but not adult yet. It's hard to explain. Like what encouragement or what advice would you give to somebody who's got like 13 and 14 year olds?
Well, even just through the high school years, that's so hard. And we went through it. And I remember thinking, this is all there is. This is, I kept reminding the boys, there's so much more after high school. It's 4 years. And I remind them how old I am. And I said that high school is only 4 years. And if they came home griping, I'm like, you got 2 more years. You never have to see these people again. You get to choose who you're around. And I encourage them. Both of my boys are academic smart, so I would encourage them. College is so much more fun because you're around people that have your same interest. And you get to meet so many different people from different places, and they're more like you. And they care about that stuff with you, where some of these kids don't. They have interests that are more into the music, which my kids never were, or into playing ball. My kids never were. So I just encourage them to remind them that high school is not all there is, and figure out what does make them click and get involved with that. And with our boys, it was kind of hard because it was video games. Well, that's very isolating. And so to find something outside of that to get them involved in different things. And we'd go to church and they would hate it. They hated being there. They hated youth. They hated kids.
Yeah. I mean,
through those years, they hate everything.
There's a lot of parents that can relate to that. And I have 2 boys. I had one that was really active. I had one that was not active in church. And one thing I've learned is the more I harped and forced that, the more withdrawn from that they would become, And so I really feel like relationships are a big deal when it comes to connecting with other people. And the other side of it too is, and I really firmly believe this, and I think it is true with you too, I tried my hardest to be real in the home and live it, so that when they are fed up with church people, or they're fed up with the institution of church, whatever is going on in their brains, right? They knew mom and dad, this is what they stood for. And there was always grace, and there was always truth, and there was always love covering over that. And when the Bible talks about love covers a multitude of sins, honey, I've told you this before, I'm counting on it.
For sure.
Because I blow it so much, and I have blown it so much with my kids. I can't even, I'm not one that's going to ever give parenting advice, ever, because I feel like such a failure at it so many days. And the more, I talk to people every day in this ministry, and we are not alone, man. There are so many parents out there, moms and dads, just literally just trying to do the best they can with what they've got. And so I feel even kind of more of a burden to encourage them to say, enjoy what you have and make the most of what you've got right now today. So find the one thing that you love about your family, about your kids. And you and I both know that can be hard to do some days.
Somebody shared with me one time too, is when they come home or walk in the room, act like you're happy to see them. Give them the attention and show them, just like stop everything and talk to them. And I've tried to do that with all my boys. So Doug's one of them. So it's like, because then they know they've got my attention, and you know, it can be 2 minutes and hear what's going on with them. And that, I thought that was really good advice of whoever told me to do that.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard that same thing, and I heard even your eyes light up when your person comes in the room. You should have that they're here.
Yay.
That attitude of, hey, you know, even if it's a few seconds, right? Just so that person, it's the same thing you're saying.
And it's true anywhere you go. If you see somebody at church, it's like, hey, acknowledge, you know, I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen you in a while. What have you been doing? You know, and it takes 2 minutes to do that.
Oh my goodness. And don't you hate it? The opposite is when someone comes up and says, hi, I'm Mr. Jones or Mr. Smith or whatever. And they're introducing themselves to you, but they're looking around the room. They're not even making eye contact.
They're already gone.
Big major no bueno. That's no bueno. That's not good.
Right.
You're just like, why are you even talking to me if you're not even going to look me in the eye and like be in the moment?
Right.
You know, I don't need your life story, but at least if you come up to me and say hello, look at me. I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
What's your pet peeves?
To be ignored.
Ooh,
Doug always sees that. You hate it when people don't pay attention to you. And I'm like, and why should I like it?
And no, okay, this is why we're such good friends. I say, why wouldn't they pay attention to me?
Exactly.
Hello, don't you know who I am? It's so dumb.
And then,
I know.
and then in my brain, when they do it, like, they're missing out. Too bad. And, you know,
They're lost.
You know,
They're
you gotta. And I talk about faking it till you make it, because it's and it's just my self-talk, because you gotta be able to cope with crazy. And you know, not that I'm not crazy, but I know what my crazy is.
That's it.
And I crack myself up because I'm like, yeah, why are you not listening to me, weirdo? And then I go on. So, yeah, Doug's just like, you hate being ignored. And I'm like, I don't expect attention. You know, I don't have to be the center of attention. But if you ask me a question and I'm talking to you, act like you're listening to me. In fact, I had a girl, she asked me about the lymphedema stuff. So I was telling her, I was like, you need to get these socks. They're at Walmart. They're called True Form or something. They're cheap. And so in the end, she goes, oh, I don't like that material. And I said, so you're going to buy $50 socks instead of $15 socks because you think this material's not okay? And I said, never mind. I've just been doing it for 30 years. So you really don't have to listen to anything I have to say.
And there you have D, brutal D, the honesty right there.
But I was like, you came to me. I didn't just start rattling off information for you to ignore. So you might listen. And I told her that. I said, I just been doing it for 3 years. So you might listen to what I have to say. Let me know if you need to know anything else. And I'm like, I'm done. Weirdo, why are you doing so? And then I can say all this out loud because a month or two later, she came to me and asked me again. I said, are you going to listen to me this time? And then later she came to me. She's like, Dee, you're my favorite. And I said, really? Then why won't you listen to me about the socks?
You're so obsessed. You're stuck on the socks. Doug is right. Why you want people to pay attention to you? That's hilarious.
When I know stuff. Other times I would learn from other people and I'm like, and I hush. But when I know things that work and you don't listen to me, I'm like, don't ask me then. Don't act like you want to know the answer and then don't do it. So yeah. Well, that's my pet peeve, is not to be listened to. But
what's your favorite thing about Jesus? Before as we close up, what's your favorite thing?
The same thing that I pray whenever I talk to him is, thank you for knowing me inside and out and loving me anyway. Because he's the one that knows all your faults. He knows all your pet peeves and all your weirdness.
And don't you know he has pet peeves about us? Oh my word, he probably
and
doesn't.
then I
He's
turn it
perfect.
around too, going, Jesus, I'm sorry. And then, but yeah, I love that he loves me.
Me too. Well, thanks for being here today.
bet.
Hey, everybody, do you know that you have crud? We all have it. It's how we deal with it that makes all the difference. This is Sonia Bruner with Crud Talk. See you next time.